Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's Facebook Live. We are again in Port Macquarie, but next week you'll find us, we'll be back in our home offices. It's been so delightful just to kind of get out of Sydney and get some long walks in, and yeah, really beautiful. I think that piece that the conversation we're having at the beginning of July around that reset, like really clear about just taking some space and time to fill back up. And I tell you what, I feel so different now to how I did sort of 10 days or so ago. So I think if you haven't created the time to, fill up and reset and all of those sorts of things, I'd really encourage you to do it.
Yeah, in whatever form you can. We know, it's different, difficult for some people. You've got restrictions, lockdown, we've got different things going on. So just find your own little ways. Maybe it's a beautiful bath with candles. Yeah. Maybe it's a little connection with something. Maybe it's something special you've always kind of wanted to attend to, and you just have a little bit of time for yourself. Just fill yourselves up, that replenishing, that feeling like, oh, there I am again. It's such a beautiful feeling. We've certainly had plenty of that this last week, 10 days.
Yeah, for sure. So today we want to talk about, it's for many people, July, August, sometimes it rolls into September, performance review time. And one of the things that we've noticed a lot, and we've said, I've had loads of clients kind of come back and say, this piece around, I get feedback. And it's often when you start talking about promotion opportunities, right? And they're almost looking for a reason to be able to justify a decision, is that people get feedback, again, particularly women. In fact, I'm not really sure that I've ever had a guy say to me, oh, I got feedback, I need to display more confidence. But, this piece around, well, you need to display more confidence. It's sometimes positioned as executive presence, but I've had, the amount of times I've had people come to me and say, oh, I've been given the feedback from either my boss or another stakeholder that I need to display more confidence in order to progress. And I think, we talk a lot about this. It's one of the ones that got me really curious about confidence, because it's like, well, what actually are you saying here? What am I not doing specifically as a behavior that I need to start doing in order to be confident in your eyes?
Yeah, I think this is one that is so, it's like a, never-ending continuum. What is confidence, and what does this person, when they're giving that feedback and using that word, either you're not confident enough or you're not displaying enough confidence, what is it that looks like to them? Because what is it that you're not doing that if you were doing it, they'd go, oh, okay, well, you've got the confidence, you've got the executive presence, you've got what I think is necessary for you to do that. And I think one of the things that we first started to tease out with this work was making sure you're on the same page here. Because if your view of confidence and what your definition is very different to theirs, then even if you do some work and you change things, it's not going to meet their expectations. So this clarity piece around what's going on, really, really important.
Yeah. I think it's really easy to shy away from it because we don't want to hear the message. Sometimes it's an excuse in my experience, and it's just an easy, like we give the feedback and then leaders walk away and that's the end of it. And so I think this does definitely take courage to lean into the feedback, because I think there's often a fear that we don't really want it. There's some shame potentially that gets tied up with this, which is, and meanwhile, what's really going on for you is you're working really hard. Your staff, you're super competent, you're super capable. You're wondering what's going on. Like, why aren't I progressing? Or, what are you talking about? I'm not confident. I don't understand. What is it that you expect of me that I'm not doing? So I think you really need to, in the moment, that's why being focused and present and all our physiology strategies are really important. In the moment, go, okay, great. Well, tell me, what do you mean by that? And it's likely, in my experience, they won't have a very good answer to that question. When you say, well, okay, what would I be doing differently? Like what action would I be taking? Particularly, you want to hear zero down into behavior. What would I be doing differently if I was being more confident in your eyes? I think for most people that they'll be like, they're not able to give you good answers. And so here's where you're going to need to perhaps do some really good coaching of your leaders, some really good questions to start to really almost explore, create the picture of what needs to be different to have more confidence in their eyes.
Yeah, I think this piece here is, rather than, sometimes when we get feedback or we hear something we'd rather not, we can get a little bit defensive. We can get a little bit like, well, that's not fair. I'm doing all these good things and I'm showing up and I think I'm doing a good job. And so that's actually not very helpful here. It's more like, oh, well, whatever I'm doing, it's not landing in a way that they're seeing me in a way that would make them feel comfortable for me to progress or to get the salary increase or whatever it is I'm asking for. So rather than get kind of upset or concerned about that, just drop into a place of curiosity. And also with this curiosity, to get them to start to articulate and unpack what they mean, because as Kate said, they're often not that conscious about what it would look like themselves. So rather than put them on the spot and kind of demand something, be compassionate to the fact that maybe they don't really know what this looks like. And if you help them unpack it, if you collaborate with them so that together you define what this would look like, what does confidence look like in this context, in this way, in my role, what would I do differently? And you kind of do it as a little kind of shared exercise, project, that sort of thing. It'll feel like something that you're working on together and you've got a shared understanding, and that will shift everything in terms of both of yours perception about where you're working to.
Yeah. And this is this piece around asking for help, right? Because it's like, okay, cool. There's something that needs to be different. Help me understand that and then help me do it as well. And so it might look like, actually there's a stakeholder group and you're in that meeting, you don't speak up there. And you might be sitting there going, well, I didn't know that it was my job. Like we're there together. I'm not sure what's expected of me. And actually, there's some really simple wins that you can have here, which is, okay, great. Now I know that all of a sudden I will speak up. I might do a little bit more prep, but now I know that that's what is expected of me. Then all of a sudden, it's actually quite easy to move through some of these things as well. So I think there's some beautiful pieces to be had around that shared understanding, because sometimes actually it's really not about having more confidence. In some circumstances it is. Sometimes it's actually just you need to start doing some things that you're really capable and competent to do, but maybe didn't necessarily know that that was the expectation. So really dig in here. It might be things like speaking up in meetings. It might be taking lead on projects. It might be building relationships with certain stakeholders or playing more of a leadership role in the team, or, all of those sorts of things. But you want to get really specific, because the challenge of leaving it too general is that we never make progress, right? But it will always be held up as this elusive. You don't have the confidence to progress. And this piece ties in very strongly with personal brand.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to shift something, if you want to shift people's perception, you do need to get, so what does it look like, and just decide on 3, most 5 different behaviors, things you would be doing differently in certain contexts, maybe, if that's what the sticky point is. And as soon as you get that clarity, then make sure you show up and do that. Maybe, as Kate said, a little bit of prep or whatever it is, but maybe it's having the conversation before with the person, with your boss, and going, hey, I know you said I need to speak up more in this meeting. I'm going to try that this time. And I really, appreciate your support as I do that for the first time if you're doing something new. And again, you're involving them in this project about how you can show up differently, how you can actually have the confidence that they want to see you have in order to progress.
Yeah. So guys, if you've liked this video, if you found it relevant, we'd love for you to share it with someone you know, or tag someone you know. We know these conversations are going on in organisations across Australia, across the world, particularly if this is something that you maybe have a hypothesis that perhaps this could be going on for your leader. Have a conversation, just lean in and say, hey, I'd really love to get some feedback from you. Support them to give you good feedback. And so all of those great questions we've been sharing can help you make it a really useful and meaningful conversation. Go in really open, don't be too defensive. It's not around right or wrong. It's around how others see you, and then how you can start to, really start to influence, I guess, how the perception of how others see you, and of course, how you show up as well. And of course, if this is playing out for you at the moment and you'd like some help with it, reach out. Send us a message. We can jump on a call and brainstorm some ways that we may be able to help. So enjoy the week. We are about to jump in our car and head back to Sydney. And so we'll look forward to seeing you next week as we tune in for our next Facebook Live.